Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with JLA Avengers. Heroes of two Earths scrambled to collect powerful items while Batman, Captain America, and the Atom took on an investigation in the meantime. After a huge battle for the final artifact, Krona lost his wager with the Grand Master, but wasn't about to let that little detail stop him and attacked him and Galactus for the knowledge they held. That's when N.Y.Gast uses the gathered items to draw everyone into a mysterious void. We're going into overtime, people!
Issue 3's wraparound is simply a sight to behold. Even more Avengers and Leaguers are charging ahead, this time including different designs and versions of some of the same characters. You barely notice the backdrop is completely blank, but that's probably for the best in order to take in the sheer, deserved spectacle of it all. Our story begins at the Source Wall, a cosmic phenomenon guarding untold power, which uses the enlarged husks of those who fail to get through as its exterior.
There's a joke here about walls and who's going to pay for it, but to be perfectly honest, it's lost its humor and it's just depressing at this point.
Dr. Doom is now among the imprisoned, and a classic-looking JLA can thank Hawkeye for his last-minute distraction. He apparently switched universes to be with Black Canary, and it's all gotten on Green Arrow's nerves. One strange ripple effect later, it's the same roster as before, except with the Flash, Barry Allen, in lieu of the Avenger, and a confused Oliver being the one who made that 1-in-a-million shot against Doom. As Hal Jordan takes the heroes back to their headquarters to inform their Marvel counterparts of their villain's current state, we get a splash page of the cosmic entities Eternity and Kismet making out.
If the date went that well, they must have seen a movie from the Marvel Universe.
Speaking of, some of the Avengers, this time including the X-Men's Beast, have destroyed one of Brainiac's attack ships, watching it sink from their island hydrobase. Despite the victory, Cap senses something very wrong. Wasp figures it may be interdimensional in nature, so she called in a JLA who transport nearby, because convenient timing isn't relegated to just one reality. They head inside for snacks, while shaking hands, chatting about couple stuff, science stuff, which Earth is 1 or 2 stuff, and wow, in this panel Batman hangs back between Cap and Superman, then in the next he's way ahead of them, front of the line when Jarvis mentions hors d'oeuvres. He must have been really hungry. After Ollie mutters a snide remark, he and Clint have an arrow measuring contest, while Steve Rogers continues to feel uneasy, looking at a framed picture paying homage to Justice League of America number 21.
We were holding a seance, we just summoned heroes from another reality, and Jarvis just happened to have his camera ready. No, it's too convenient!
Though Wonder Woman tells him he's dealt with these kinds of crossovers since the time of the Justice Society, he still feels it's all wrong. And that doesn't change when he's suddenly on the Watchtower at a luau-themed reunion party for both teams. Some faces and costumes have changed, but the rivalry between Barton and Queen has not. Pictures of kids are shared, Wonder's man and woman are arm wrestling, Guy Gardner is psychically told off. It's a fun time for all, except Superman brooding by a window. The Avengers seem very different to him, and one ripple later, the gathering is now at Avengers Mansion, again with different members included. Like that this Spider-Man like you kids like. And Captain America frantically insists that everything keeps changing. It's all wrong, wrong, wrong! Barry and Hal try calming him down, and for a brief moment resemble Wally and Kyle, whom Cap first encountered, and says they were the real ones.
Yeah, someone started reading DC in 1995. Though, given how similar the costumes are between Barry and Wally, I'm kind of wondering how Cap could tell the difference.
To ease Cap down, Janet tries reminding him of the times they've worked with the League in the past, fighting against allied android antagonists, rescuing kidnapped comrades, or fighting each other because of 2 time-traveling tyrants. Batman and Iron Man are called from investigating something, maybe still the dimensional shifts mentioned earlier, to a different disturbance. Their respective paragons of American ideals at each other's throats, tossing blame back and forth for the phenomena only they've noticed. "Drop your phony sanctimonious pose and tell us the truth, or I'll shake it out of you!" "Do your worst. You're just another over-muscled, high and mighty pretty boy. I've beaten dozens like you in my time."
No offense, but I doubt you faced solar-powered demigods from beyond the stars. Superman pastiches, maybe, but come on, Steve, let's be realistic. Wait a minute.
The two lunge and collide with each other, resulting in a silent explosion that knocks everyone back and seems to shatter reality itself. I guess someone turned the universe off for 15 seconds and turned it back on again, because Vision wakes up in an unfamiliar, snowy setting of muted color, taking to the skies before seeing Aquaman emerge from water nearby. For some reason blaming the Avengers, Arthur tries punching the answers out of the machine, only to be surprised his left hand is good old-fashioned flesh and bone, not a hook or a magical water prosthesis. With both their memories less than reliable, they decide to call a truce and look around, among buildings Vision can hear filled with frightened people, until they come upon the iconic Daily Planet globe, now rubble in the streets, which at least confirms they're in Metropolis. A group of villains approach, including Bloodsport, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, and others, saying their master has made this a world without heroes, and so the two have to die. Logically, they should retreat, but nuts to logic, because Aquaman would rather punch the name of their master out of them. And Viz doesn't exactly disagree.
They're in the DC universe, there's massive devastation, frightened people, and muted colors. I think it's pretty obvious they work for Warner Brothers.
They're eventually overwhelmed, but are narrowly saved by other members from their teams. With the villains captured, Wonder Woman uses her lasso on sonar for their master's identity, but all he says is that he's trapped and plans to escape. So maybe he doesn't know who the master is? The lasso doesn't seem particularly useful in this story. Fortunately, their foes seem to resonate with some manner of power, which Mjolnir can detect and trail back to whomever they're working for. And Cap is still distrusting of the JLA and their world. We jump to the Marvel Universe, where an earthquake gave rise to a blaze that other Leaguers and Avengers work to quell while rescuing those in danger. When the fires are put out, Superman detects strange differences about the reality, and behaves rather standoffishly to the Avengers. Among a crowd of people looking for answers after days of devastation is a cab driver from Korak, which doesn't exist in Marvel, so Batman figures their worlds are crossing over, and Goliath thinks that the one responsible is at the epicenter of the quakes. It begins snowing, and people start freaking the expletive out, not because of those who might obnoxiously start singing "Let It Snow," but because of the phantasmal apparitions that appear, confused, begging for help, and scaring the solid folk. Martian Manhunter attempts a psychic probe to find out what the ghosts want, but before he can vocalize an explanation, a shockwave knocks everyone back. Afterwards, the weather's cleared up, a Metropolis citizen seems to have appeared, mentioning that people vanish when the ghosts show up, and wouldn't you know it, John Jones is gone.
Wait, he can turn invisible. He may have chosen a crisis threatening two realities to decide to become a prankster.
In Metropolis, the now bearded Thor keeps back the full brunt of the snow while the group follows Mjolnir. Vision sees a funky-looking twister up ahead when the sounds of people in the surrounding structures suddenly go silent. They've vanished, and okay, here's the problem with suddenly giving Thor a beard here. I thought that was him behind Captain America, and the font of his dialogue just suddenly changed for some reason. But no, it's actually Aquaman, who also has a beard and long blonde hair. It's like George Perez was trying to make me look like a fool intentionally. Specifically, me.
Perez!
An energy surge stuns the heroes, but while some people go missing, Martian Manhunter stands before them, starting to piece things together. Contacting his allies in Marvel's New York, Jean says the peculiar storm is randomly switching people between the realities, as he leads them to a barrier where the city meets Metropolis. and yet somehow Manhattan gets the Daily Planet, with a headline about Clark Kent interviewing Spider-Man that throws Supes for a loop.
It makes no sense. Why would I interview a superhero that isn't me? Unless I'm Spider-Man. Or I've been doing journalism in my sleep. Again.
The two split teams arrive on either side of the barrier, with Hal Jordan recognizing Krona's face formed upon it, surprised that he's alive. This reignites the bickering between Cap and Supes, but Emissary of Peace Wonder Woman tells them enough with the infighting already. With Jan backing her up on how two realities depend on them, Steve apologizes, not Clark though, and they start remembering Krona's tantrum at losing his bet with the Grand Master, and how Sonar said their master was trapped. The Krona barrier erupts, kicking the storm back up and causing further tremors, but at least the teams aren't blocked off anymore. Superman and Iron Man head skyward, the former using his supervision to see pieces of cities from his world popping up in locales in the other world seemingly at random, and Tony suspecting it may have to do with the differences between their realities, be it planet-sized or physical laws. As the rift energy begins slowing beyond Earth's atmosphere, Cal's suspicions are confirmed. Seen in a manner their minds can comprehend, two giant ethereal hands are forcing the two Earths into one.
When will people learn? Venn diagrams are dangerous!
Scarlet Witch unleashes her power on the Krona-looking energy, seeming to hurt it, and is backed up by Hal. When it gives them pushback, the two tap into the willpower, the very souls of their allies, giving them an added boost that results in an enormous burst of energy. We pick up some time later at Avengers Mansion, where its residents, minus one Justice League, arrive to find Jarvis a little worse for wear on the porch. Between the quakes and some looting, he got himself a broken arm, but still managed to send their food stores to local soup kitchens because he's awesome like that. Fortunately, Tony's emergency generators are still working, meaning the basement labs are operational. And Jarvis can start a pot of coffee for some impending company.
Oh yes, superpowered people with working limbs. Please, let the average human with his arm in a sling get your caffeinated bean water.
After the rift's power was disrupted, people and places return to their natural worlds, so the League teleports over, since they can apparently do that now without Flash having to run in a circle. Maybe because the worlds are merging, I don't know. The Earths may be stable for only a brief respite. Time and space are still wonky, resulting in double star counts, gravitational distortions, and on the ground of two Earths, familiar heroes and heroines are seen in costumes of different eras, as seen by Firestorm, Hawkeye, and Wonder Woman. At least according to Iron Man, which he also notes the League didn't even flinch at.
I didn't notice much of a difference myself, but this is Tony Stark, and we know he has an eye for the ladies. On top of that, Diana is often touted as one of the most attractive women in the DCU, so he probably had incentive to pay extra attention to her. For science. Or something.
Their next course of action is to find the Grand Master, and discover how he used these items of power to do what he did. A return to the Savage Land to find an energy signal to track would take too long, so they'll have to be guided by the suddenly appearing Phantom Stranger. The two blonde beardos are a bit antagonistic at the ominous leaguer, but Superman vouches for him. Stranger opens a staircase portal and leads them through a cosmic dimension of mixed-up color palettes, along an ethereal path. Should you stray from it, you will never find your way back, nor will any who know you ever see your face again.
And nothing of value was lost.
The journey is intense on both biological and technological senses, leading to some metaphysical questions, but no sooner does Batman insist Stranger tell them what's going on do they arrive at their destination, the Grand Master's domain, where its chief resident lies dying. After Krona's attack, he tried using the items to merge the universes together, and contain Krona at their juncture. But the natural differences of the realities caused those most attuned to their native worlds such as Clark and Steve, to react adversely, explaining why each were quick to mock or distrust the other's world. Since the verses were already complete on their own, it's causing an overload heading towards critical mass, being intensified by Krona. With the knowledge he gleaned from Galactus, he intends to create a new Big Bang, one he can experience personally, if he survives. As Goliath realizes their phantom tour guide has vanished, Gast says he's too weak to separate the worlds, and it'll be up to the heroes to stop Krona and restore the proper order. But with everyone's memories being so hazy and people swapping and changing on a dime, Captain America wisely asks, what is the proper order?
None of these.
On a 2-page spread, Avengers and Leaguers are given their histories as they were before the merge. All the good and not so good. The victories, the losses, years fed into them in a matter of seconds. Their fashion changes and terrible personal choices. The images touch on the bigger experience of the previous 20 years or so. Batman losing a Robin, Wonder Woman her mother, and Aquaman his hand. Which really looks odd from this perspective, but I guess he's seeing the screen more like this. Then there are the heroes that see their own deaths, descent into madness. You know, the light stuff. But it was showing things as they should be that exhausted the last of Grandmaster's power, and he passes away. In the uncertainty of how things will revert should they stop Krona, some of the heroes would prefer to avoid the darker moments that, to them, are still ahead. Hank Pym striking his wife, Wanda losing her children. But Hal, who saw himself driven to insanity and murder, says they can't risk changing things, choosing the easier-to-bear deaths of people they don't know. It's not their place to play God. As they agree to restore things as they were, for better and worse, the two teams are observed by Metron as they defiantly call out to Krona that both the Avengers and the Justice League of America are coming after him.
If you don't like raised fists, you're really not gonna like what we're doing now. And that brings this episode to a close. Tune in next week to find out how the story and the season comes to an end. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.